Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to bring out the beautiful details of this bisque-fired ceramic mask using a stroke and coat glaze, a dark glaze, and notice this bas-relief. We're going to make this really stand out. First, let's quickly talk about what happens to clay in the kiln. This mask has been through a process called bisque firing. During this firing, the clay was heated to a temperature high enough, usually around 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, to transform it from fragile greenware to a much harder, more durable state. Even though it's stronger now, it's still porous, like a dry sponge. This absorbency is exactly what we need for the glaze to properly adhere. Before we even think about applying glaze, the very first step is we need to give our clay mask a good sponge cleaning. So I'm taking a damp sponge and I'm just wiping it off. You'll notice that if you brush your finger on it, there will probably be a little bit of a white film. This is all we're getting off. We're going to try not to let too much water absorb, but just get any of that dust off. If there's any dust left on our piece or oil from our hands, like lotions, it can transfer to the ceramic surface and create a barrier, causing the glaze to resist sticking. Here's an example of what can happen if glaze encounters oils. See how it beads up and it doesn't want to spread out on the rest of the surface? This was previously covered completely, but it pulled back in the kiln. The same thing can happen with dust spots, as you can see here. Now let's get our glaze ready. You'll notice that the glaze often settles in their container. Some are really thick, some are thin. So you need to make sure you shake them thoroughly to ensure all the pigments and materials are spread out. So I put my hand on the lid, turn it upside down, and give it a rough shake. Remember, all the glazes need to stay safely at the glazing counter and with their corresponding color chip. We're only going to be taking our paint pots to our desk. We're going to start with just one paint pot full. This should be enough to cover our mask. We're going to use our number 10 soft round brush to apply the glaze. We're going to make sure to get all the nooks and crannies, and to do that, we're going to use a circular motion, moving very, very fast. If you go too slow, it'll dry and you won't be able to push it into the little crevices. So I'm going in circular motions, I'm going fast, I'm going at different angles so I reach all of the crevices. I want you to watch the difference between painting it on and so if I just paint it on, it's just going to get the surface. It's not going to get in the cracks. That's why we use a circular motion and we go fast to really push it in those spots. You have to change your direction, your angle. As you can see, one paint pot is exactly how much I needed to cover this mask. Now we're going to be looking for any spots that we missed. Anything that's white. For example, here, we need to make sure that we push glaze into. Even in these holes. Itty bitty spots. We're going to go around the outside edge. This is going to be our base coat, the color that ties everything together. I learned from one of my art teachers years ago, Dean Bowlby, that having a base coat really helps pull your piece together and creates consistency, even if you're adding colors on top of it. And I've taken that concept and applied it to my ceramics, my paintings, my drawings, my coloring pages, my textiles, pretty much anything that I do. Now we'll go back and clean up and wash off any areas that touch the surface, but for now, we're going to paint everything. Now I needed to go back and get one more paint pot for the back side. We don't need to paint the back side, but I think that it will make it look more polished if we do. For big surfaces like the back of this, using a fan brush is going to be more efficient. We're really going to get a lot of glaze on that. And I've pretty much scooped out the entire paint pot. And I'm quickly spreading it on, using those circular motions again, then going back to smooth it out while it's still wet. I want to make sure that I haven't missed any spots. Making sure to clean my brushes. You are going to have to use your hands to work some of that glaze out. Just rinsing them isn't enough. You're going to reshape your brush, put it away, tips facing up. Next, we're going to take a damp sponge and we're going to wipe off our carvings. My sponge isn't wet, it is just damp. We want the color to stay in any of the background areas and what we've carved out. Rinse out your sponge, get it re-damp, just not wet. Now, I like the texture of not getting all of the glaze perfectly off. I think this gives the piece interest, but you are welcome to do what you like. Now I chose a dark color because it will make the details stand out more. All right, to add even more interest, I'm going to take a little bit off of the background also. Now, the patterns that you see with your sponge are the patterns that you're going to see when it's fired. So you're kind of painting with your sponge, making swirls. I like the edges cleaned. But that's my personal choice. All right, so what if you take off too much? You can just go back in with your brush and repaint it. Because it's wet from my sponge, the glaze is not going to adhere as strongly as it did before. If you want these areas to be cleaner, just rinse out your sponge completely and just keep going over your areas. Let it dry, come back to it once it's dry. You can pick specific areas in the picture. For example, things closer should be cleaner. Things that you want to be further away should have more glaze kept on them. So maybe I clean off these front flowers and keep these with a little haze. If I want to bring this flower forward in front of the tree behind it, I'm going to take glaze off this front one, but leave the one behind it hazy. So we're using concepts of atmospheric perspective, where things in the distance appear more hazy and things up close are more vibrant and crisp. If I want this center of the flower to appear like it's popping out, all I have to do is take off a little bit of glaze. If I want this center to appear like it's going in, I'm going to add a little bit of glaze. Now I'm going to make it look like these are curving in, so I'm taking my sponge just on the outside edges and keeping the inside really dark. I want to make little clouds in the sky. Just going to twist some highlights. To figure out where the mask sits, what spots I need to clean off the back, my trick is getting a towel wet, wringing it out, spreading it out on a table, and then resting my piece on top of it. I'm going to keep this here for a couple minutes. All right, my piece has been sitting for a couple minutes. Now I'm just going to rub it back and forth, kind of rotate it a little bit in case it moves. I'm rotating it. And then that's where the piece needs to be cleaned, so it won't stick to the kiln. Right, now you're going to clean up. Clean your palette. Dry it off. Even though this is wet, it still works to dry. It's not perfectly dry, but it's better than it was. When you dump this water in the sink, see how the glaze settles in the bottom here? You're going to need to wipe. Keep your water moving. You'll shake, 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 shake as you pour, and that will cause all the sediments to go out. It's the same concept as when you're mining for gold. Glazing can seem a little intimidating at first, but with a few simple steps you can achieve really stunning results, like highlighting the intricate details of this mask. Remember to always start with a clean piece. Handle your ceramics with clean hands and take your time. Thanks for joining me. Happy glazing.